Hello, I'm Dave Litton and welcome to my PRINCE2 Foundation and Practitioner Exam Assistant. Its purpose is not to give you lots of practice at exam samples. It's more important than that. It's to allow you to build your exam technique so you can get more marks in either the foundation or the practitioner exams. One of the questions I often get asked is they're all trick questions. People think that the exam is there to trip them up, but that's not true in any way. I want you to know that the examiners are actually on your side. They want you to pass. All the examiners are trying to do is to test your understanding of PRINCE2, and all you have to do is to prove it to them by passing. What is important in both of the exams is that good time management is vital. I would say it's less so in the foundation exam. Most folks find that is, in the 1 hour you get, sufficient to get enough for the pass mark. But it's certainly true in the practitioner exam, where you will have to manage your time very carefully. Now, the practitioner exam consists of a scenario plus 9 question topics, and you'll have 150 minutes in which to complete the exam. If you allow 15 minutes for each question, and that includes 15 minutes for the scenario, then you're probably going to get the job done. I know many people that have actually passed the practitioner exam, yet they didn't quite finish all of the questions. Now, I'm not suggesting that as a strategy in any way. If you are against the clock and you're finding you are running out of time, don't give up, just keep going, because you may well still have sufficient marks to pass the exam. And if you're undertaking any sample exam papers, then take as much time as you like, so you make sure you understand the information. But you might want to go through a dummy run and see exactly if you can answer the set of topic questions in 15 minutes each. In the actual exam room itself, the invigilator, very often the trainer who's trained you on your training course, please let them know if you're finding the room is noisy, too hot or uncomfortable in any way. If it's at all possible, they will do something about it. Don't wait to the end of the exam and then complain. Fix it during the exam. Many of my delegates actually like energy drinks. I don't like the taste of them personally, but if you do, then it's not a bad idea to bring a couple of the cans in. I'm sure you know the make I'm thinking of. Or if nothing else, make sure you do have water. Then have some available during the exam to keep your thirst quenched so you can focus on the job in hand. And here's a thought for you. Plan B. You can always retake. Now, that's a rather strange thing for me to be saying. But some people get very nervous and uptight during exams, and I can understand why. Frankly, I used to do the same. But you can retake these as many times as you wish. Now, it will have a cost implication, but think of it this way. It's not the end of the world. If during a particular exam you're realizing you didn't do as well as you'd hoped, don't get depressed. It's just a bit annoying, a bit frustrating, but you can always retake. However, let's focus now on you passing first time. Let me talk first about the foundation exam. This is a 1 hour paper and you will have 75 multi-choice questions. However, 5 of the questions will not be marked. The examiner will be testing out new questions and he will include 5 of them in your paper. However, they won't be counted as marks. They're not trying to be tricky here. It's merely a way for the examiner to test out new questions. So you must answer all 75 questions, but of course only 70 questions will be marked and go towards your score. And you need to get 50% right, which means you need to answer 35 correctly. Now, that's not so bad if you think about it. If you go into the office, your office on a normal Monday morning, imagine your boss saying to you that whatever you're going to be doing this week, as long as you get at least half of it right, your boss will give you a pay rise. I think that would be a very generous boss, would you agree? So don't put yourself under too much pressure. PRINCE2 quite rightly believes that if you get half or more correct, then you have understood the foundation elements of PRINCE2 sufficiently. Of course, I believe that if you only just struggle through only getting 50%, then it probably should be a big clue to you that the practitioner exam will be an uphill struggle for you to pass. So I would recommend that what you should be learning and focusing on is getting a pass mark up around the 70 to 80%. This would prove to yourself that you're in good shape and you've done a good job on understanding the foundation PRINCE2 material. It's a closed book exam, so all you'll have is your head and the paper in front of you. As you've probably been made aware of already, you actually get a pencil with an eraser on the end, and you will be shading in little ellipses to show which is your answer, A, B, C or D or what have you. And a good idea is to shade them in quite lightly to start with. That way, if you do change your mind, you can erase it more easily. The foundation exam will be marked by the trainer or the invigilator if that is a different person. Which means that if you normally take the foundation exam on a Wednesday night for a typical Monday to Friday course, then you will be able to go home on Wednesday night knowing what your score is. The foundation exam, by its very nature, should be fairly straightforward. I say this with the benefit of hindsight, of course. It's straightforward if you have worked hard and you've understood the PRINCE2 method, usually in the first 3 days of your training course. The questions will be based on the information contained directly in the PRINCE2 manual itself. Now, the practitioner exam is 2.5 hours in duration, as I've already mentioned, and again it has 9 questions with subparts. It's called the objective test. Now let me explain. The 9 questions are really topic areas, and for the most part, usually 7 of these, they'll be based on the themes within the PRINCE2 manual. Usually 2 of these questions are based on the processes. So these subparts might be part A, part B for each of the 9 questions or topic areas. There are a maximum of 12 marks per question, giving you 108 marks in total. You need 55% to pass, which is 59 marks or more. This, however, is an open book exam. What this means is you will only be allowed the manual. That does mean that any information you have personally written into the manual will be allowed by the invigilator, but you're not allowed to paste or stick any other information within it. So please don't attempt to do that. You'll find that during the exam that time management is important, and it's highly unlikely that you'll be actually reading the manual, but it is highly likely that you'll want to quickly go to certain parts of the manual, perhaps just to check some technical aspect of the PRINCE2 method. So it's a good idea to tab your manual up for each of the main chapters. In particular, of course, the process chapters, the theme chapters, and probably Appendix A, and the other appendices will be worthwhile as well. Appendix A, because many of the practitioner exam questions are based upon the management product descriptions, or templates if you will, contained in Appendix A. As I've said already, you will be against the clock, so time management is important here. Do you remember the earlier slide when I recommended that you allow 15 minutes maximum per question in order that you can complete the whole exam within the time allowed? Foundation exam tips number 1. Here's something which I find very, very useful. Answer the paper in 3 passes. So when you start, look at question 1 and see if you know the answer. This will be your first pass. And what I mean by that is go through from question 1 right the way through to question 75. So the first pass, do the easy ones first. If you see a question and you know it pretty much immediately, answer it and move on to the next. If the next question is one which you're really scratching your head about, don't sit there and get frustrated or panicking. Move directly on to the next question, and so on and so forth. At the end of the first pass, you'll probably find that you've answered maybe 20 or 30% of the questions. But they're the easy ones out of the way, and you've got yourself a good database of correct answers, which should be a very positive thought for you at this juncture. Come the second pass, go to the first question you couldn't answer, and this time spend, say, 10 seconds or so rereading each question you didn't get on the first pass. Normally, this second reread will allow you to see exactly what the answer is. But if again, after 10 seconds or so, you're still scratching your head, it's obviously a difficult question for you personally, so move on. Now we come to the third pass. I would recommend check the clock in the room or your watch and check how much time is remaining. From my experience, you'll probably have 10 to 15 minutes, if not longer. I've known this first and second pass to be done in the first half an hour, leaving you 30 minutes remaining. In which case now you've got the ones which are more tricky. Try these techniques. Read the question a second time or a third time might give you the answer. In other words, the more times you read it, it might suddenly come to you. Cross off the answers that you know to be wrong. In other words, try to get this by a process of elimination. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. By crossing off the answers that are wrong, then the one that must be left must be the right answer. Or it's a very high likelihood it's the right answer. Just fill in any answer. Make an outright guess if you want. The worst thing you can do is to hand your paper in at the end of the exam knowing there's some answers you haven't even attempted. Even lucky guesses might give you an extra few marks, which could mean all the difference. Okay, well done. You're already smarter than the average PRINCE2 exam candidate. I mean that in a positive sense, in that you've taken the time and care to think about the techniques you need for the exam itself. The best way to pass the PRINCE2 exam is to work hard and to understand the PRINCE2 method. As I said before, the examiner is not trying to trip you up. Merely set out a set of information to prove to them that you know enough to be called a PRINCE2 practitioner. So thank you for your attention. I hope you found this useful, and good luck in your studying and passing both your foundation and practitioner exams. And if you want to fully prepare, I recommend that you go on over to my PRINCE2 Foundation and Preparation site, www.prince2primer.com, and we'll meet again on the other side.